最近どう？
元気だよ。アミは
まあまあかな。今週末は何か予定あるの？
実家にちょっと帰るよ。アミは
友達と会うよ。
楽しんでね。Hello and welcome to Learn Japanese Pod, the podcast that helps you to speak Japanese more naturally and fluently. And as always, I am joined by the amazing Ami Sensei. How's it going, Ami Sensei?
Alex-san, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. And Ami Sensei,
はい。
もう遅いかな。なんか明けましておめでとうございます。
明けましておめでとうございます。いや、遅くないですよ。It's still January.
It's still January, so we're still good. Okay, so Happy New Year to you, Ami Sensei.
You as well.
And to all of you lovely people listening, Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year.
It's a new year. It's 2023. Can you believe it?
No, it's very much in the future.
We are living in the future. And I'm actually recording this in Japan, so I'm actually quite a few hours ahead of you. So I am in your future.
You are literally in my future.
I don't know exactly what that means, but anyway.
Everyone's like, oh, good. They're still the same crazy people.
I think that's why people tune into this podcast to hear the crazy they know and love.
ありがとうございます。
Arigatou gozaimasu to you too. So, again, it's a new year. We have got a lot of new podcasts and new exciting things planned for this year. In fact, we have a very, very special announcement at the end of this podcast. So keep listening for that. And in the meantime, before all of that, Ami Sensei,
はい。
what is the topic of today's podcast?
Okay, today's podcast is all about making small talk in Japanese. We're going to teach you how to strike up a casual conversation using natural, fluent Japanese. Now, why learn how to make small talk in Japanese? Well, it's beneficial for various reasons. First of all, it's good for improving your language skills. It can help you to improve your listening, spoken fluency, and vocabulary. It also allows you to practice using Japanese in a natural, conversational setting. It's also good for enhancing your cultural understanding. Knowing how to make small talk in Japanese can also give you insight into Japanese culture and customs, as well as help you understand social cues and conventions. And it's also good for building relationships, right? Small talk is an important part of getting to know and understand people you meet. And being able to make small talk with native speakers can help you to build connections with them and then make them feel more comfortable around you. It's also a great business skill. And last but not least, small talk is great for making your trip to Japan more enjoyable. If you're planning to travel to Japan, being able to make small talk can help you to have more enjoyable and memorable experiences by allowing you to interact more easily with locals. Now, if you're a beginner and feel a little intimidated by this topic, don't worry, we've got you covered. We're going to give you lots of examples using common vocabulary and natural dialogue. So all you need to do is just sit back, listen, and enjoy the show. So without further ado, let's dive in. Listen again to the dialogue you heard at the beginning of the podcast and see how much you understand. We'll break down the dialogue for you afterwards. 最近どう？
元気だよ。アミは
まあまあかな。今週末は何か予定あるの？
実家にちょっと帰るよ。アミは
友達と会うよ。
楽しんでね。Okay, dear listeners, did you understand that? So this is quite a simple dialogue, but simple is good. My strategy for trying to make small talk with Japanese people is use the simplest Japanese you know and just ask very simple questions. And that's enough. You really don't have to go crazy with this. So, Ami Sensei, let's break this down. What was the first phrase we heard there?
The first phrase was 最近どう? So, pretty short, sweet and simple. 最近どう? 最近 is lately, and どう is just how. It simply means how or how is it. So, how are you or how have you been lately? How's it going lately?
And this is another thing to keep in mind for those of you who are beginning in Japanese and maybe don't feel confident. I always say you can say more with less. So it's super simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Recent, how? Recently, how?
Yeah, recent how.
And in English has much more tricky grammar, like how have you been? But again, in Japanese, just saikin do, how have you been? And then the answer to that was?
元気だよ. Ami wa? So, 元気, or you can, of course, insert whoever's name there. 元気だよ. 元気 is good, as in doing good. だよ or is. And then whoever's name. And then wa.
And that wa particle is super useful. So the wa usually points to the subject of the sentence. And if you had to translate it, it means something like as for or about something. So ami wa. So as for Ami, or in
how
more naturally,
about you?
Yeah, how about you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm fine. Ami wa, and then genki dayo. Dayo kind of emphasizes the point that you're feeling genki, that you're feeling well. I'm really good. Ami wa, how about you? And then
まあまあかな? 今週末はなんか予定あるの? So this まあまあ is a pretty useful term to know. まあまあ is like so-so or okay. You know, it's like, it's going all right. Kana is an ending that sort of means you're sort of thinking about it, thinking about what you just said, or perhaps. It could mean perhaps, maybe. So, okay, I guess. まあまあかな. And then, 今週末は何か予定あるの? 今週末 is this weekend. Wa. Again, that particle pointing to the subject. As for this weekend, なんか is something. 予定 plan or plans. あるの do you have? So, do you have some sort of plan or plans this weekend?
I use that quite a lot actually. So 今週末は何か予定あるの? What are you planning this weekend? Yeah, very useful. Yeah.
And you can also just say 週末 if you wanted to.
Yeah. So 今週末 this weekend or 週末 just weekend. Sure.
And then Alex said, 実家にちょっと帰るよ. Ami wa? So 実家にちょっと帰るよ. 実家 is home as in home. Like
home.
You home like
home,
where
home.
you were brought up, where your parents live, you know, home.
Right.
Ni is the particle that sort of means to. And then ちょっと is little. And 帰るよ, going back. And in this case, going home. So I'm going to visit, or I'm going to go home for a little bit. And then again, Ami wa? How about Ami? As for you, Ami?
Great. Yeah. So I'm going back to my parents' place, or I'm going back to my hometown for a little bit. How about you, Ami? And then you said,
友達と会うよ. So 友達, friend. と is a particle that can mean with, or in this case, with 会うよ, meet. So I'm going to meet up with friends.
Just a little grammatical note. The sentence before 帰るよ, and in this sentence 会うよ, that yo just emphasizes the meaning that I'm really going to do this. So the first verb is 帰る, to go back. 帰るよ, I'm really going back. And then 会うよ, 会う is to meet, and then yo is just to emphasize that you're meeting them. And then finally,
楽しんでね. So 楽しんでね. It just means have fun. So the 楽しんで comes from the verb 楽しい. fun. And then 楽しんで means to have fun. So it becomes a verb now. And then the ne is sort of a friendly way friendly way to tell somebody to do something. So 楽しんでね, have fun.
Yeah, 楽しい is a really useful word. So 楽しい is the adjective, right? 楽しむ is the verb. And then 楽しんで is the te form of verb. And usually it's got loads of different functions, but one of them is to ask someone to do something. So 何々て or 何々で. So 楽しんで, please have fun, please enjoy. Ne, why don't you? Something like that. There you go. So that's a super simple dialogue. And again, I just want to press the point. Keep it simple. You don't need to learn super complex grammar or vocabulary to make small talk. So have a listen again to that dialogue and maybe repeat it out loud, and you'll slowly kind of get used to the various structures and the different questions and answers that you'll often hear in small talk and casual conversation. So keep practicing that. So Ami Sensei, I have a question for you.
Hi.
What are some appropriate topics for making small talk in Japanese?
That's quite a difficult question. But I could say that small talk is casual conversation that can be about almost anything. But in Japan, there are a few topics that tend to come up in conversation more than others. And the first one is weather. So the weather is always a safe topic, I'd say, for small talk. Japanese people often talk about the weather, especially during the change of seasons.
I can attest to that fact. The weather is probably the number one most popular small talk topic. So Ami Sensei, what's like a good phrase you could kick off a conversation with?
One useful phrase would be 今日はいい天気ですね.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I hear that on a daily basis.
It's good weather today, huh? 今日はいい天気ですね. Or perhaps 今日は寒いですね. Oh, it's cold today, huh? 今日は寒いですね. And then a common reply to that would be そうですね. You know,
that's right. Absolutely.
The best filler word.
So
Aizuchi.
Ami, how's the weather over there right now?
今日は寒いです.
Okay, here we go. 今日は寒いですね.
そうですね.
Oh, yeah, that conversation you hear a million times in Japan.
Yeah, and then I would say you can use that quite safely in most situations to start a conversation with someone. Oh, in fact, check out podcast 28, where we exclusively focus on how to talk about the weather in Japanese. I remember that. Another topic is talking about work. Now, Japanese people often talk about their work and profession and might appreciate it if you show interest in their job and company. When meeting someone for the first time, you could simply ask, お仕事は何をされていますか?
So that's using a bit of keigo, I guess?
Yes.
I know grammatically speaking, you can say お仕事は何ですか? Which is not wrong, but I think お仕事は, so your work, 何, what, をされていますか? Which is just like a polite way of saying する,
Yeah.
します to do. So what
I know,
what
I
do you
made
do
that
for work?
pretty polite, but you could, so if you sort of break it down into different levels of politeness,
Okay.
you know, the next level down would be like, お仕事は何をしていますか?
Okay.
And then if you want to speak really casually, if you, because I assume that if you're meeting somebody for the first time, you want to speak in keigo. So
yeah, exactly.
I
right.
would do されてますか or お仕事は何をしていますか? And then if you're speaking to somebody you already have met and you're speaking and you're not speaking in keigo, then you could just say お仕事は何をしているの? Right?
Or
So.
if the person you're speaking to is maybe on kind of a similar level as you, or you're very friendly or whatever, you can just say 仕事は
Sure. Or どんな仕事
どんな仕事
してるの? Yeah.
What kind of work are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Ami Sensei. I think if you're meeting someone for the first time, you want to say お仕事は何をされていますか? Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then they might say their job title and then this. For example, 会社員です, which means I'm a salaryman.
Yeah, salaryman, like an office
an
worker.
Office, office worker.
Yeah.
Or 主婦です, which I think, I think people still say that. 主婦です, like a, housemaker.
Housemaker,
Whatever.
homemaker, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to say. Which, I think nowadays, obviously we have to be careful and we have to like change these terms, I think, because 主婦, applies to only women, but, it's not always the case that the woman is home, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So, I think that term may change eventually, but yeah. But I guess if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you're just at home, then you can say 主婦です if you're quote unquote a woman. And then if you're talking to a friend, you could ask 仕事はどう? How's work? 仕事はどう? And then they might reply 忙しい, which means busy. Or they might say 大変, which means tough. It's tough. Another topic I would say is food. And Japanese people have an obsession with food, including me. And Japanese cuisine is, of course, well known around the world. So I would say it would be a great conversation starter. And you could start a conversation with something like 好きなお寿司は? Or like 好きなお寿司のネタは? So what kind of sushi do you like? Like what fish do you like? And then they might reply マグロが好き. I like tuna. Or イカが好き. I like squid. You could also ask something like 好きなお酒は? What kind of alcohol do you like? And someone might reply, ビールが好き. I like beer.
For some reason, I don't know why, but when I meet, depending on the situation, but in many situations I've been in, we're having dinner together and we meet people for the first time. They really want to know what kind of sake I like. And sometimes they don't ask, do you drink? They just assume that I do, which actually I do. So it's not a problem. But they, what we really want to know what you drink. And so the simple answer is just to say biru ga suki.
I guess they want to know if you like Japanese alcohol, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so if you actually do drink, nihonshu or shochu, and you know the names of some of them, I think they'll be quite impressed.
Yeah. Or if you don't know if they drink, or if if you're just meeting them for the first time, you could start with something like お酒は飲まれますか? Or お酒は飲みますか?
飲みますか,
Like, do you drink?
Yeah.
Like, that's totally okay to ask.
Yeah, that's fine. I think another good conversation starter regarding food is to ask someone if they've ever tried something before. And I think Ami Sensei and I, we are both food obsessed, of course.
Hi.
Because we have that Japanese connection. And obviously there's, amazing Japanese cuisine, but a branch of that is like snacks. So
snacks.
Kind of those little snacks that either you ate as a kid or snacks that you love getting from the convenience store. How would you ask that Ami Sensei, I think it would be something 食べたことある or 食べたことあるの. How would you say that?
Yeah, like something 食べたことある. Like, for example, スーパームーチョ食べたことある
ある大好きスーパームーチョ。
アレクさん大好き。
僕はね、スーパームーチョは大好き。で、スーパームーチョは何かっていうと、ポテトチップスだけど、I like the ume flavor. They're the best.
Really? I like caramucho.
Oh, caramucho.
Yeah, the spicy one.
So these are what us Brits would call crisps. And our American friends would say...
Chips?
Chips, right? Potato chips or whatever. They're great. Super mucho.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's called that, but that's a great snack.
Like, yeah. Because suppai, right?
Suppai, yeah. Suppai.
Yeah, it comes
and
from
then
suppai.
Mucho, I think, is from the Spanish, like mucho. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Mucho.
Mucho.
Like, very... So, yeah. I like the caramucho, but yeah.
Yeah, the caramucho is good, yeah. Maybe we should do a podcast on Japanese snacks. I think that
I was going to say, yeah, we should.
do that. Okay. We'll put that down in the ledger for next time. So, 何々食べたことあるの? 何々食べたことある? Yeah, just ask someone if they've ever tried something. And that's great because... Japanese people are definitely going to ask you that. Have you ever tried squid or have you ever tried onigiri or something like that?
Yeah.
And you can also ask them, have you ever tried Marmite before?
I actually don't think I have. I feel like we've had this conversation
I think we've had this conversation before a million years ago, but you've got to do it before you die. That you should definitely put it on your
before
bucket
I
list.
die, yes.
Now, the goal is not to necessarily like it, Ami Sensei. The goal is just to say you've tried it.
Yeah.
And the other one is Vegemite. That's the Aussie one, right? And Marmite.
I feel like there's one more, yeah.
There's Promite, Vegemite, and Marmite. Marmite is from the UK. Vegemite is from Australia.
Are they supposed to all taste like pretty similar?
They have a similar taste, but this is the weird thing. I love Marmite. Marmite
a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't. Yeah, no. Marmite kind of splits the population in half. You either love it or you hate it.
It's like licorice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You either love it or you hate it. Or kind of like natto, right? It's like some people love it, some people hate it. Yeah. So definitely try it.
Yeah. I think... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. After you.
I think there are other things, though, you can talk about and bring up in conversation, like talking about hobbies and interests.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's another good way, I think, to find common ground with Japanese people. They may be interested in things like sports, music, or travel. A very simple question you can ask is, 趣味は何? What's your hobby? And to that, someone might reply something as simple as, 趣味はテニス. My hobby is tennis. Or ジョギングが好き. I like jogging. I like to jog. Now remember, just simple questions like these are fine for small talk. And when you're in doubt and don't know what to say, just ask a question.
Exactly. Ask questions. Yeah.
And of course, travel is another great conversation starter. As a foreign visitor to Japan, you'll most likely be asked lots of questions like where you're from, why you came to Japan, what you think of Japan, sharing your experiences of Japan, or asking Japanese people about their travel experiences is a great way to kick off a conversation. So, for example, you may be asked, 日本はどう? What do you think of Japan? And you could reply, 面白い. 温泉が好き. It's interesting. I like the onsens. And you could ask, イギリスへ行ったことある? Have you ever been to England? And by the way, you might want to check out podcast number 10, which is about the top 10 questions you'll be asked by Japanese people. And that podcast has quite a few examples of phrases to do with international travel. Just visit learnjapanesepod.com. That's learnjapanesepod.com and search for podcast number 10. Again, this is not a definitive list of conversation starters, but these are some common topics you'll regularly hear in Japan. Remember, even if you still don't feel confident, just try to ask simple questions and use basic grammar and vocabulary. Japanese can be quite a minimal language, so you can say a lot with less. And you'll probably find that most Japanese people will appreciate the fact that you're trying to learn their language, even if you're a beginner. So, 皆さん頑張ってね。
Ami Sensei, thank you so much. That's such an awesome explanation. So I think that's given our listeners some good ideas for, small talk topics. Again, as you said, Ami Sensei, I agree 100%. Keep it simple. When in doubt, ask questions. And, feel free to listen to the dialogue again several times so you kind of get an idea of how the language flows, and you can maybe learn some of those questions and some of those answers. I think we should have a little small talk of our own in Japanese. So this,
good idea.
Yeah, いいでしょ? So this is an opportunity for you to hear some non-scripted Japanese conversation between Ami and myself to help you build your listening skills and expand your vocabulary. So don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just try to absorb as much of the language as you can, and feel free to listen again if that helps. Now, remember, getting as much exposure as you can to the language will really help your Japanese. So sit back, relax, and have a listen. So, Ami Sensei, ちょっと日本語モードに切り替えます。
はい。
Okay, so Ami Sensei, 最近どう？何かいいことあった？
最近は全然なくて
ないの？
なんでってもう新年早々風邪をひいてしまって。
大変ですね。大変ね。
そう、なんかせっかくね、新しい一年始まるぞって時に。
じゃあ、2023年といえば、なんか予定ある？
予定は、そうですね。予定というか、まだないかな。
まあ、いいんじゃない？まあ、
なんか目標とかはあるけど。
何の目標ですか？
目標はまあね、音楽をもっと頑張るとか。
いいね、いいね。
YouTube を頑張るとか。そういう目標はあるかな？
ぜひ一緒に音楽やろうよ。
やりたい。
いいね、いいね。
アレックスとね、作ってるたこ焼きの歌を
作らないと
完成させる予定をね。
完成しないとダメですね。
それをじゃあ予定に入れます。
じゃあよろしくお願いします。
はい。
アミ先生は旅行の予定はある？
今のところはなくて、実はお正月にちょっとプチ旅行というか。
いいね。
はい。なんか田舎の方にのんびりしに行ったんだけど。
いいね。
そう。で、
楽しかった？
リラックスできてとても良かった。現実逃避。
現実逃避。現実逃避はなんていう英語で
I mean, I guess it literally means escape from reality.
Yeah, right.
そう。
That's all good. で、まあ、さっき言ったかもしれないけど、でも今年一番頑張りたいことは何？
一番頑張りたい。一番はやっぱり音楽かな。
いいね。で、ぜひ手伝いたいと思う。
ありがとう。アレクさんにもちょっと手伝ってもらおうかな。なんかやっぱり結構なんか80年代とか90年代とかの日本の音楽がやっぱ好きで、だからそういうなんかカバーをもっと出していこうかなって。
いいね。
2000年初期とか、この前12月にもアップしたんだけど、もっとやっていこうかなと思います。
いいね。 じゃあ、ということで、アミ先生、二人とも今年も頑張りましょう。
頑張りましょう。
Okay, so it's time for our big announcement. So, we are launching a new Learn Japanese Pod premium membership subscription. And this is going to give you exclusive access to extra Japanese study materials, podcasts, show notes, and stuff that is not available to the public. You'll also get an additional monthly podcast, which includes extra dialogues, sentence examples, and vocabulary based on the free podcasts, but that go into much greater depth. And this is for those who are more kind of serious about improving your Japanese skills in a more structured way. Now, you'll get detailed PDF show notes, including useful vocabulary and natural phrases. You'll also get a Japanese-only audio drill to allow you to practice all the Japanese spoken in the podcast. Now, don't worry, because the main Learn Japanese pod lessons, such as this podcast, will continue to be free forever. Yay! And also, the Fun Friday podcast will also remain free. Additionally, all podcasts, all show notes, and all extra practice audio drills from podcast number 1 through to podcast number 46 will also stay online as they are for free. So there'll always be free content that's available to everyone, plus extra premium content for only our premium members. Now, to find out more about the premium membership, just visit Learn Japanese Pod and click the link at the top of the page, which goes to the premium subscription link, and it will give you all the details that you need. Also, if you have any questions about this, feel free to send me an email at info@learnjapanesepod.com, or you can hang out with Ami Sensei and myself on Discord. Again, just go to the main website at learnjapanesepod.com and click on the Discord link at the top. And that's it for this week. I hope you found that entertaining and useful. And if you'd like to study more about small talk in more depth, visit the premium membership area I just mentioned, because we've got even more dialogues and even more sentence examples to turn you into a Japanese small talk ninja. And as always, a huge ありがとうございます to you, Ami Sensei.
いえいえ、こちらこそ。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
And we shall see you next time. See you later. またね。